You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed.
Yes, sir. What's going on, everybody? Oh, that shit cracks me up. All right, Mike's back over here. Did you notice? What's really going to bake your noodle later on is, would you still have broken it if I wouldn't have said anything? Ponder and wander. So, did you take your ass to the gym today? I got to the fucking gym. Matter of fact, just got back Monday morning. Gym, yes. It was good. It's been good the last few gym sessions I've had have been pretty good. I did some homework, did some studying, listened to some podcasts, got some new information. So I've been working on some new techniques and some new forms and some new things, and I like it. And let's see how it goes. So far, so good. Just working on maximizing my time there. I have recently, since I have gone 50-50, I'm going to justify it right now, by the way, if you don't mind. I'm just going to go ahead and justify. But recently I've gone 50-50 with my daughter, so I have some, my time has been restrained, whereas I used to be able to go every day. Now I don't have that option, so I want to maximize the time that I do have when I can go. So I've been looking into that, and I found some stuff. Am I fucking buff yet? Am I buff yet? But yeah. So podcast number 24. Interestingly enough, I got a notification from Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is the deal that I use to, it's like a distribution deal. I upload my stuff, I upload the audio to Buzzsprout, and then Buzzsprout distributes it to whatever platform I want. Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Podcast, blah, 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 all the things, right? All the platforms. That's where I broadcast to, and so Buzzsprout is the place that I do that. Where the fuck was I going? Huh. Friggin' brain fart. Total brain fart. That is a total brain fart. Wow. Anyway. Oh, ha. Episode number 24. I have a couple of bonus episodes plus part 1s and part 2s, but they let me know that I've reached a goal of 25 podcasts. There are more now, but they gave me a little achievement, 25. The next achievement is at 50. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was fun. Also, they give me achievements for a number of downloads, and I've reached 250 downloads, and the next achievement would be at 500 downloads. So if you think about it, give me a download, guys. That would be awesome. If you're listening, hit that download button and download the podcast. It's cool to listen. I want you listening more than anything, and getting the information and sharing this connection and sharing time with each other is really what I want. I just, like I've said, I just want attention. I just want to be loved, and I just want to connect with you virtually here, me and you, on this amazing journey that we're on together. It's great. and the things I learn and the things I share and the shit that I want to talk about and the shit that I talk when I start judging people and the cunt comes out and, the bully, the cunt. Not to mention there's the nice Berg, the sensitive Berg, the vulnerable Berg. And then there's the Jocko Berg, Drill Sergeant Berg. Get up every morning early and go to the gym. Go to the fucking gym, Berg. How many fucking Bergs are there? There are many facets to the Berg. That's why the abyss is deep as fuck. Yeah. I think that's cool. They kind of give out some achievements. But guys, please give me a download. And another thing, share this podcast with one friend. One friend. Just share, hey, check out the Berg podcast. Help me grow this thing. I would be entirely grateful for that. One person, share it with one friend. So last podcast, I kind of ranted, talked a lot of shit. I would like to start to remember what I am talking about. So what we talked about last podcast was casting spells. Words are spells. I ranted a little bit, and then I talked about my journal format. I have not. I did do my journal entry. I started my journal entry this morning before I went to the gym. Baby girl got picked up, and then I decided I'm going to go hustle to the gym. And so I have it written down here. Definitions. I took some notes for this podcast because there are some things I wanted to talk about that I've kind of mentioned before. But I wanted to, this kind of plays into some of this stuff that I've talked about before, personal responsibility. So there's an idea out there that I've been thinking about that I've begun to incorporate myself. It kind of goes into this prepper mentality, right? These doomsday preppers. But the real truth of this matter is that what it comes down to is personal responsibility. And I've been thinking about this a lot, having a little girl that I'm raising, a young girl, having this baby girl who's going to grow up to be a woman, a young woman, an adult woman. And I want her to understand that I told my partner, my significant other, I told her the other day, she said something to, just offhand, to my daughter, something like, oh, daddy will always protect you. Right? Because we were talking about ghosts and monsters. As you can see, it's spooky season around here. And so I said, you know what? I said, I don't want to let her think or believe that daddy will always be there to protect her, because the truth of the matter is I will not. I cannot. At some point, I will die. But also, beyond that, let's hope I live many years to come. But at some point, I won't be there. I mean, I can't always protect her because I just won't be there. I mean, I have her 50-50. She's with her mom. Daddy can't protect her while she's with her mom. Let's hope that her mom can, especially when she's young and vulnerable. But the idea here is, if daddy's here, he will do his best to protect you. But the best thing that daddy can do is teach you how to protect yourself. That's it, is to teach you how to take responsibility for yourself, because nobody's coming to save you. You are responsible for saving yourself. This idea of personal responsibility in all facets of life has somewhat, in my opinion, seemed to have gone by the wayside in our modern society. All of a sudden, the victim is the hero. It's it's an honorable thing to be a victim. We're being rewarded for being a victim. 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. 20 years ago, the hero would have been the guy that kicked ass. In my opinion, that guy is still the hero. Technically speaking, in the movies that we watch and love, think about Top Gun. Fucking destroyed in the box, right? Did he call in for help? Hell no. He went out there and got the job done. He did his best to teach the younger pilots how to do it, but in the end, he had to go out there and do it. And even the rest of them say he didn't fucking call on Uncle Sam to come fix it for him. He had to go out there and do it, and he trained the young ones to help him and pick the best out of them to go with him, but he had to do it himself. Got shot down in the... Spoiler alert. Shit, everybody's seen it at this point. Y'all motherfuckers, if you ain't seen it yet, I don't know what the fuck you are doing with your life. I mean, do we need help? Of course we need help. Can we use help? Of course we can use help. But the main focus is personal responsibility. Take responsibility for your life, right? Take responsibility for teaching your children to have personal responsibility. No one's coming to save you. You are responsible for saving yourself. I mentioned that before. What happens if the power grid goes down? What happens when the supply chain goes down? Now, we've had some issues, and we've seen some of this in COVID. This is not a new concept. Supply chain issues, blah, 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 blah. So these thoughts are leading me into these notes that I have written down. Because I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this. Because life right now, for me, for most of us, life right now is really nice. It's really easy. It's really cush. I mentioned this before. You can go to the grocery store and get everything you need. You don't even have to cook anymore. Even at the grocery store, you can have them deliver that junk right to your door. You don't even have to leave the house anymore. You can work from home. You can get your groceries delivered. I mean, you don't have to do shit for yourself anymore. Personal responsibility. The only thing you're responsible really for is not much. You know what I mean? Right? So I thought to myself, in a society where life is really easy, it's really easy to take on morality, right? It's really easy to take on a position of morality. It's really easy to take on a position of judgment over others, pushing your morals onto others, right? Like we see a lot of that happening today. It's really easy to signal your virtue to others, virtue signaling to others that you're this good person from the comfort of your home. It's on social media. It's easy to say that that's what you believe. But the truth of the matter is, which is what I'm going to get to these cards here, is what would you do if the system actually fell apart? And I've heard a lot of this coming from some folks on certain sides about burn the system down. Okay. Are you sure that's what you want? Have you thought this through? Or are you just talking shit? Because if the system actually burns down, are you capable and willing to do what it's going to take in order for you to survive, for your family to survive, for your children to survive? Or are you just a single person? And even a single person, let's just say, are you willing and capable to do what's necessary to survive? And I mentioned before in the last podcast that you can kind of count on people, right? I want to believe in the goodness of people. But really what it is right? In this society, because we've made agreements, and we agree on the rules to the game, right? We're playing this game, this society game, and so morals fit, right? Now, principles are another thing, right? Those are values and beliefs that we have that form our principles. And we have principles in this country. I have some principles that I believe in. But the question is, if I can count on people to do what they're going to do to take care of themselves in order to survive, do what they need to do. When survival is easy, morality is easy. But what would you do if your survival required you to abandon your morals? Right? When morality was in question, right? What would you do? What would your principles stay intact? I don't know. I'll be honest and I'll say I don't know. I would like to believe that my principles would stay intact. The principles and values that I believe in, the founding fathers set up, that I've been taught and that I've grown and raised to believe, right? That I'm writing, I can hear it, right? That I would maintain some principles. Now, those principles are based on values. And I think that some of my morals, this morality, would come into question because I may need to do things to protect my daughter, to protect my loved ones that may be questionable. I may have to kill other human beings. That's a possibility. Violence may be necessary in order to protect my family. But would my principles, see, here's where it gets sketchy, right? What would I do for food to feed my family? Now, my principles would say, don't steal from my neighbor. So in order to not steal from my neighbor, I would need to be able to go out and hunt, or I would need to be able to stock up food here for a certain amount of time to not have to steal from my neighbor. Now, if somebody wanted to come steal from me, oh, no. Right? And that's a right I'm asking you, right? What would you do? Think on that. What would you do if your child had to eat? Would you kill your dog? Would you kill your dog and cook up your dog in order to feed the family? I would. From what I understand, a dog is a fine meal. What would you abandon? I believe I would stick to my principles for as long as I could. And hopefully I would stick to those principles until I die. I would not want to go and steal from my neighbor and take what they have, which leads me to another thing about responsibility. Communication with your neighbors is important. There's a community of people that you live with right here. What resources do we have as a community of neighbors? Now, if you hate your fucking neighbor, you don't have a relationship with your neighbor, you don't even know your neighbors. See, in Europe during World War II, they learned these lessons because they went through that, because the Nazis came through and fucked everything up. So they had to rely on themselves, their neighbors, their communities for survival. We've never had that here in the United States. Some localized areas have had to endure some of that. But we saw what happened during Hurricane Katrina when New Orleans went off the rails and they put everybody in the stadium there and people were getting raped and killed and murdered in that stadium. It was fucking anarchy. What would you do in that situation? The answer is you don't know. That's the honest answer. I don't know. Again, I have some principles, some values that I believe in, that I believe that I would follow, maintain. And that's another reason why I arm myself. So I mentioned I did a podcast outdoors, and I was going to bridge my 2 podcasts because I do 2 podcasts. I was going to bridge them, and I was going to talk about the Second Amendment. And I plan on going back outside and taking this station mobile and doing an outdoor podcast. And I will talk about the Second Amendment. So you think that the guns aren't for when everything is hunky-dory and everything is fine. That's not what they're for. Again, I just want you to think on these things. What would you do? See, I, again, have mentioned I'm somewhat prepared. Am I as prepared as some folks? No. Am I as, let's not even compare. Am I as prepared as I believe I should be? No, I'm not. I am not. I feel ashamed of that I'm not prepared. I feel shame for that. I feel like there's a part of my worth that's missing as a man, as a strong man, because of that. That affects my worth, that affects my self-esteem, and that affects my view of myself and the spells that I cast on myself, the words that I use to describe myself to myself. I've always thought in my mind that one of my biggest fears was, and this isn't even irrational, but one of my fears is that I won't be able to do what's necessary to protect my loved ones. And that has to do with me being a man, a responsible adult, a responsible, grown, capable human adult, a man. Think about that for a second. And I also know there's a lot of attack on men and masculinity today going on in the world. And I've mentioned Brene Brown before, and Brene Brown is a shame researcher. And a lot of what Brene Brown talks about is really important. Being vulnerable, right? Naming shame and helping us get rid of our shame. And I agree with her on a lot of points. But there's something in me that thinks that naming shame is one thing, but I think that there's a part of me that believes that some shame is good because it refreshes this desire in you to recognize some weak points in yourself. And I don't think it's fair to shame others all the time. I think some shame is necessary to better oneself. This is a really interesting concept for me to work out here with you using my words and to see if I can articulate this to you guys. Because like I said, I feel shame for not being as prepared as I think I should be. And should implies shame. Could implies possibility. Should implies shame. You should have been more prepared. You should have. You should not have done that. Implies shame. And I've worked on removing some shoulds in the language I use, right? Spells. In the language I use for myself, with myself. Should. I could be more ready. Or should be more ready. I'll let you think on that a little too. Should, could, would. We talked about that last time, huh? Should have, could have, would have, not of. What would you do? What would I do? The definition I was going to look up was morality, morals, moral. That's what I'm going to look up. As soon as we finish this podcast, I'll do my definitions for the morning. Monday definitions. You know, I heard recently there's a gentleman in the UFC. Apparently, another man, I don't know all the details, but another man was abusing his daughter. I think sexually abusing his daughter. And he went and killed that motherfucker. And he's in jail right now because he killed him. We see this in movies and we cheer that on. I cheer that on. I wonder what will come of this man. I don't know if he was sentenced or had a trial or not. I know there's that movie with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson from way back in the day called A Time to Kill. Basically, that's the gist of it. These dudes raped his daughter, 9-year-old daughter, and he fucking smoked them. I have a daughter. I also believe in the rule of law. Again, when times are easy, it's easy to talk about the rule of law, law and order. I, for one, believe in law and order. I believe law and order gives us a lot more freedom. And if you think about it, if we lived in an anarchic society, then there would be no laws. You would not be able to leave your home with all the goodies in it and go about your business because you would have to stay here and protect your goods from because there'll be violence. There will be fucking blood. Period. You think there won't be? You're kidding yourself. You think that this society that we live in, this peace and this peace will last forever? I would like to believe that it would. One of the reasons this peace lasts, honestly, is because there are strong fucking men out there willing to do horrendous things to keep this peace. Think about that. And I know you women, and listen, like Dave Chappelle said, I'm somewhat of a feminist. I believe in equal rights for women. I believe you women should be able to go out and earn a buck. Equal pay for equal work. I agree with that. Go out there and do your thing. But don't sit here and pretend that, and I talked a little bit of shit about this last time. It was my rant. Let's not pretend that you can do the things that men can do physically or are capable of some of the violence that men are capable. I don't believe that you are. Some of you are, for sure. But not all of you. You're just not capable of it. It's not an insult. You're strong and like that. Women take it insulting. Why are you insulting? The only reason you're insulted by it now is because we live in this society where you're safe. And you're safe to say these things. And I'm not saying you can't say them. I believe in freedom of speech. But you're safe to say these things. If we lived in a society that if we didn't have rule of law, man, you might be in trouble. I might be in trouble. So there are other men out there who have experience in violence that I don't have. They're experienced in it. They've done it. There are psychopaths out there who don't give a flying fuck. And that's why I ask myself, right? And why I feel ashamed, because I don't know violence. I'm grateful that I don't know violence. And there are a lot of men out there who would say, son, be grateful that you don't know the violence. And I am. But that doesn't mean that I can't or shouldn't train myself to be ready in case I need to use violence. That's where I feel ashamed, because I haven't done enough, in my opinion, to be ready when violence happens. And I say when violence happens because if we keep going down the road that we're going, violence is going to ensue. I have faith that it won't. Again, I would like to believe that it won't. And I'm not calling to arms or any of that. I don't want to fight. Again, I'm not ready to fight. Somewhat ready. Certainly not ready as some other men are and some other women. There are some women out there that are badass women. Like super badass. Y'all some bad bitches. When we talk about these things, people aren't talking about this. Be honest with yourself. Be honest. Open. Honesty, openness, and willingness. The only way you're going to survive. Stop bullshitting yourself. Better to have a condom and not need it. Better to have an AR-15 and not need it. Better to have a fucking handgun and not need it. Better to have some jujitsu skills and not need them than to not have any of those things at all. Better to have some food in your pantry than to not have any at all. Just saying. See, shame. I feel shame. And then am I a bully? Am I an asshole? Am I a cunt if I shame you? How do I have a conversation? See, that's the trick. Learning how to have a conversation and lead people into facing their shame without actually attacking them, using their shame, using shame against them. That's leadership. That's leadership, isn't it? Right? Weak men use shame and bullying tactics. I've been a weak man for a long time because I'm ashamed of myself, because I'm not confident, because I wasn't a leader. I have been a leader at many times in my life. I'm working on becoming a better man. I'm working on becoming a better leader. Having this little girl, this little child, surely exposing tons of my weakness, tons of my vulnerabilities, ton of my shame. Certainly exposing a lot. And I'm growing, I'm learning. And I'm here with you guys sharing this as well. How to learn, how to grow. Let's do this thing together. Let's get ready. Be prepared. Start taking responsibility today. Stop waiting for somebody else to do it for you. Don't wait for a welfare state. Go out there and get some. Fucking get some. I'm closer today than I ever was before in the years past. That's why going to the gym's important. I was telling my lady the other day, what happens if something happens to me and I need you to be physically strong? That's why I want you to go to the gym, babe. Be strong. Personal responsibility. What would you do? Think on it. Ponder and wander. I love you guys. Peace. And I'm out.
You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky.
The masses' ignorance